The Secrets of Technology is brought to you by the StarQuest Production Network and is made possible by our many generous patrons. If you'd like to support the podcast, please visit sqpn.com/give. You're listening to The Secrets of Technology. Hi, I'm Dom Bettinelli, and you're listening to The Secrets of Technology, where we discuss the technology news that's important to you from a uniquely Catholic point of view. And joining me today on the panel are Pat Scott. Hey, Pat.
Good. Hello there.
And Father Andrew Kinstetter. Hey,
hello there.
Good evening. Hello.
I thought maybe it was like an old British saying, "Good low there, gentlemen." So we are back in it. We are loopy, and no, we're having a great time. Before we get started, I want to tell you about another show on the StarQuest Network you are sure to enjoy called, speaking of British things, The Secrets of Doctor Who. And you want to check that out wherever fine podcasts are found, or at sqpn.com/Doctor Who. And get in now, because there's a whole new season with a whole new doctor coming up this spring. So get caught up on what we've been doing. We've got some great stuff we're talking about in the meantime. So check it out, The Secrets of Doctor Who. So let's talk. Last week we talked about, I talked with Father Joseph and Victor about our favorite tech of 2023. But this week we're going to talk about what to look forward to in 2024 and beyond. Some of this tech we're going to talk about is admittedly not going to be mature in 2024. But so we're going to be talking about mainly stuff that we saw come out of the CES show, the Consumer Electronics Show that happens every January in Las Vegas. So there were some definite big topics that there seemed like every year there's a couple of things that everybody seems to be putting stuff out for. So no surprise, AI is big. So there's all kinds of AI-based products or products claiming to have AI, but that way too. There's some always interesting stuff having to do with computers and new form factors and that sort of stuff. TVs, there's always a new thing. And so there's some very interesting stuff with TVs this year. And we're also going to talk about some health tech and even some food and cooking tech that I saw that was really cool. So there's a lot to talk about. So let's jump right in. And so let's talk about some of the AI stuff. The first thing that really caught my eye was Amazon is going to be taking Alexa to the next level. They previewed an AI-powered Alexa that allows for more conversational chat. They claim that it's going to be more useful. That remains to be seen. That is not a high bar at this point with Alexa. I hate to say it. But you'll be able to have a back and forth conversation. You're not going to have to say its name over and over again, that sort of thing. Did you any of you get a chance to, either of you get a chance to look at the video demonstrating the new Alexa chat?
I did.
I didn't have.
Yeah,
go ahead, Father.
Yeah, what'd you think, Father?
I thought it's impressive. I don't really. I guess I'm struggling to imagine myself using those features though. Perhaps someone who's lonely or something, but it still doesn't really fill that need for human connection. But
right,
the video was showing cool things like tell me a story about Jell-O or something, and then the AI just creates this story for him. It's cool, but I don't know if it's useful.
I don't often have a need for it, AIs to tell me stories about things. It's just, you're right.
Right.
And part of it for me is I've had an Alexa, an Echo in my house for 7-8 years now, maybe longer even, and I've gotten used to the way I interact with it. I don't know that what do I need? I needed to play music. I needed to set alarms and timers. Now, if it does those things better, that's what I really need, because right now, setting timers can be hit or miss. Getting it to respond, having it wake up and start talking to me or start playing music when I didn't add, like random songs. Like, why are you playing this awful heavy metal song like right now? I don't want to hear this. What did you hear? That sort of stuff. But it's funny because everything they demonstrated just seemed like I have no use for that, or I have other ways of getting that just seem more intuitive to me. Now, again, it may be because I'm Gen X and you're a millennial, maybe a Gen Y or Gen Z that'll become more natural to them. But I do want it to get better, but it didn't seem like they packaged it well. Pat, what did you think from looking at any of the materials? Did you get a chance to look at any of the materials?
Not on the Alexa stuff. I didn't get a chance to. I did look at the Bali and the LG robot, but I didn't happen to go to the Alexa.
Let's talk about those then, because like the Bali, so Samsung Bali and the LG Smart Dog, what they called it, so it's a zero labor home hub, and that's the weirder looking one. It rides upright on two wheels, and it's got eyes that are expressive. And then the Bali is really kind of like a BB-8 sort of thing. It's just a ball that rolls around, and it's got a projector on the front. And they both, I think, have similar concepts, which is they're like an Alexa but mobile, and they can follow you around. They can project things. They can keep an eye on the home when you're not there, greet you at the door. I don't want it to greet me at the door. I'm sorry. Unless it's like the Jetsons and it's got a martini, you know what I mean? Like the maid on the Jetsons, you know? But in general, I don't know about how I feel about something following me around. And again, I'm not sure what I would ask it to do. Well, you know, I feel like I'd be more likely to trip over the darn thing than anything. Stop being underfoot, you know? What do you think?
Like a puppy.
Yeah, like a puppy.
I thought it was, of the three, I liked the Bali the best. And the idea that it could project things onto the ceiling or onto a wall and give you some, a screen that you could look at that way or see something that you were looking for. That was kind of cool. I don't think I have anything need to have it monitor a pet for me, like it was having it monitor the dog, and when the dog was getting into trouble, giving it treats. That's not something I would use it for.
Right.
But I thought it was cuter than the others. But I don't have a huge need for something to do that with. Possibly the displaying something on the screen like a map or a weather chart or something like that might be helpful.
Yeah. I mean, I suppose like if there's an elderly person who lives at home alone and having something nearby that they can have it do things for them, like, to maybe like a mobile, what's the thing, I've fallen and I can't get up sort of thing,
Right.
or
sure. Yeah.
Or, hey, call my son, or that sort of thing.
Calling somebody. Yeah.
Yeah. Or just in general, not even for an emergency. So having a companion device like that for helping seniors to continue to live alone longer than they otherwise would be able to. I could see that sort of thing, but you're right. What do you think, Father?
I would just kind of echo you guys. Like, I think it maybe if it had a different use, maybe like as a toy or a game, it's the idea is cool, but it's still impractical for at least the adult sort of kind of just normal living stuff that I'm trying to envision using it for.
Right.
I do have a client that's had a stroke, and so I know she uses her A-Lady to make some phone calls and to wake her up and different things like that. Yeah. And I could see the Bali doing that and being able to show her a weather chart or show her a list of things or show her a document or whatever. That might be helpful.
A mobile Echo, which is essentially what it is, Amazon Echo. I could see that and being asked it, to control appliances or lights or things like that. I mean, but we already kind of have a mobile smart assistant. Most of us, it's called a phone. Like,
right.
I mean, frankly, I want Siri to get these smarts. We haven't heard anything from Apple. I'm sure they're working on stuff like that. But if my Siri devices could, like in my phone, could have these more advanced conversational abilities, that would be awesome. I would love to see that. But I guess this is, I think it's sort of a fad. There are two types of consumer tech. There's the guys in a conference room, guys and gals in a conference room thinking, what do people want? And I think that falls into that category, as opposed to the sort of thing that people organically kind of want and that would like more naturally fit into their lives. This is, I think, I could see a future where such things exist, but I think we're not quite there yet with, like, in our generations. Like we come from basically 3 generations, right? We're, boomer, Gen X, and millennial. Maybe the generations that follow will be more likely to be interested in these things. So but that's one of the trends. The next thing I want to mention is a computing trend. It's dual screen laptops. And because everybody needs more screen real estate. That's the big thing. We all want more space on our screens. And Asus has what was considered by Engadget as a best of show device, the ZenBook Duo. Now this one looks fascinating to me. You get a picture. We'll have links, but if you want to picture it right now, it's like a stack. So you have the keyboard flat on the desk, and then there's almost like a iPad tilted away from it, like an iPad looking thing. And then on the top of that is stacked another 14-inch monitor. So you have 2 14-inch monitors stacked, and the keyboard, really cool, actually detaches, so you can pull it away. It has a kickstand, which is really nice. It is touchscreen, so you can have a virtual keyboard on it. And then the keyboard just kind of drops flat on the bottom screen, and then you could use it like a regular old laptop. And it's only $1,500, which was pretty reasonable for this sort of device. What do y'all think of this one? Do you want a double screen laptop? Is that a thing that you would want?
Well, I don't particularly, and I go back to, okay, it stacks where it joins. That may be easy to break. And I don't like that, things that aren't one piece, because they tend to break. Yeah. The hinges and that type of thing.
Hinges loosen up, or when it's up in the air like that, it makes me nervous. Yeah, I can see that.
I've seen some stands that work really nice to put a laptop on and have the screen be up and be stacked, and a second monitor maybe beside it. Right. But for me, no, I don't need 2 screens.
What about you, Father? I think for me, the whole notion of a laptop is that it's portable, and it's for the screen space, I use desktop PCs for, or actually what I'm doing now is I have my laptop hooked up to an external monitor on my desk.
Right.
I just don't see me using dual screens in a laptop format. I think there's potential there, and maybe someone else would use it in ways that I haven't. But like, just trying to imagine like pulling that out on an airplane or something.
You couldn't. It would not fit.
You'd pull it. You'd use it in the normal laptop mode, which you're able to do.
Yeah. It's like the way like they were describing it in the video on Engadget was, you put your secondary screens, like your palettes and things down here, or your Slack, your email, or, don't open those because you're on a laptop. I mean, like,
or put them on your phone.
Yeah, right. I mean, I'm sitting at a desk with 2 very large monitors. I love screen real estate. I could never get enough. When I'm going to be going away this weekend, I'm taking a second screen with me with my laptop to have it, that it'll stay on my desk. It's one of those portable monitor things. But I don't know that I'd want it integrated into the computer itself. I don't know. I don't think this is ever going to be mainstream, but I could see like whether it's folding phones or the dual monitor laptops. I think the manufacturers really think we want more screen space, and we say we do. I say I want more screen space, but I'm not sure how I feel about this particular way of doing it. I love the idea that they're trying something new, and I love that it's $1,500, which is quite reasonable. But it's interesting.
Isn't it interesting that for the longest time we were go smaller with screens, go smaller, and now it's the reverse.
Whoa, too small, back up. Yes, I agree. All right, so speaking of screens, this is actually the one I think feels the most futuristic. These next two, both Samsung and LG were showing transparent OLED and micro LED TVs. Now the Samsung one is still a concept. There's no price on either of them, so don't even ask. If you have to ask, it's probably too much, that sort of thing. We're probably half a decade to a decade away from these being the sort of thing we could get in our regular folk could buy in their homes. But it's where we're going with things. So these are transparent TVs, and what it is it looks like a sheet of glass that you hang on a wall or whatever, and it projects what you're seeing on it. Now, it doesn't look like those really bad holograms. It looks really good. They were talking about it's almost uncanny when there are people on it. It's like they're standing in the room with you because it's transparent. In fact, the LG one has an optional contrast screen that you can raise up behind it so that you can get, depending on what's behind where you mount your transparent TV. But this really feels like, wow, this is Star Trek. This is Star Wars. You see these sorts of things in science fiction, and it feels like we're really getting there with this. What do you think? I mean, do you think the world is looking for a transparent TV? What do you think?
I would wonder if it would take away from the immersive experience when you're watching a movie or something like that. Then I wouldn't want that. And maybe I'm just weird, but like even the Quest has gone to where they have a pass-through mode where you can, see your room around you. I don't want to see my room around me. I'm sorry. I've got stuffed animals and beds that are unmade or I want to be immersed in something. I don't want to have it transparent.
VR, take me away.
Yes, please.
I think the use for this is not your average home theater. And it looks like something, Iron Man would be displaying something on, right?
Yep.
It looks sci-fi. It looks amazing.
Or Minority Report, that type of thing.
Yeah,
right.
I think... I mean, and as much as I'd love one, I think it wouldn't do as well as just a normal TV screen for me. But I think like if it was used like, go to the, Nintendo headquarters and they had some sort of like display going on with it. That would be really cool.
Corporate things, installations. Yeah. I could imagine like actually replacing a window, a floor to ceiling window with this sort of thing, like in a corporate conference room or maybe like in a viewing, like say you were in a interpretive historical place and you were looking out over a vista or landscape and it could project onto that and you could see, what
characters,
was here.
Yeah, historical characters or something like that moving around.
Yeah, I could see that where being able to see through and having what's being projected overlaid on the environment behind it would be useful. I could see that. Yeah.
Yep.
So, but it's amazing to see that they could make such a thing where it could be transparent, but also be a monitor, a screen, and project things at very high resolution. Like the LG is 4K. I think the Samsung one's even higher resolution. So fascinating.
I think that someone on the video was saying that it almost looks like a hologram. I mean, it's just kind of like floating there. It looks like it's floating there in midair.
It's amazing.
It truly is, but not practical for the average consumer.
No.
I did see a TV one time a couple years ago in Chicago where my niece had a building she was managing that it was transparent. And then when you turned it on, then it was no longer transparent, but it looked like a really pretty piece of glass, with some etching on it and stuff like that. And so that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
but that's not the same thing this is.
Right. Yeah, like privacy glass of that sort. Yeah. And then actually the LG thing also has their something we talked about from CES last year, which was like the wireless transmission, like it's transmitting the signal wirelessly, so you don't have all the wires coming off of it except for power. They haven't figured out how to get rid of a wire for power yet. I'm sure they're working on it. And then another big category this year, which I think every year, is health tech. And there was some interesting stuff there as well. One of the ones that Engadget highlighted is it's a gyro glove, and it's designed for people who have essential tremors, like Parkinson's and other. It makes it difficult for people with hand tremors. They have a difficult time grasping things or operating, buttons or zippers or knobs, or, the things that we take for granted on a regular basis, even picking up glasses of water. And so what the gyro glove does is it has a gyroscope in it that rotates, I think they said, faster than a jet turbine. And it changes directions to counteract the tremors, the micro tremors in your hands. And so it's stable. Basically it stabilizes the hand so that people, and the article cites one woman who's been using it about how it finally makes, she can button her shirt or move a cup of coffee around or write a note with a pen. Fascinating to me to see this. What do you think of this sort of thing? It looks huge. And they say it's actually, they make it, the buttons and controls big for people who are trying to put it on with the tremors. But what do y'all think of this health tech?
I know several people with essential tremors that are really bad, and several people, clients included, with Parkinson's. So I can see this would be a really big thing. I hope that the cost of it comes down.
Yeah.
That would be what I would hope. But I know somebody trying to pick up a bowl of soup or something is just impossible.
Right.
Or trying to even get the spoon to their mouth. And so this would be such a wonderful thing to help them be able to handle a lot of the things more independently.
Yeah, it's $5,900, for sale, and I don't know if some of those things are able to be covered by insurance or not, but
I would hope so. Yeah,
but it is still quite expensive. But the idea is, as these things get out there, hopefully the price comes down.
They come down, yeah,
and they become available to more people, because it really could change people's lives.
I think this is one of the areas of tech that is just, I think this is probably where a lot of the future is, besides the next big screen or, whatever. Health tech is so big, and they're getting, all of these cool things that can help people with Parkinson's and, the hand tremors. And, they have, I think one of these, I don't know if it was CES or if it's just, there's like a ring that can detect all these health metrics and sync it to your phone. And
the Aura.
I think, yeah. And I know even one of them was there was an all-in-one gadget that was doing all these sensing things with health, and then syncing it with your healthcare provider. And
let's talk about that one. It's the Withings BMO, it's called. And it's sort of like the first step toward the Star Trek tricorder, right? The medical tricorder.
Right.
And it has multiple sensors in it. It has a digital, has a thermometer, an ECG, stethoscope, pulse oximeter, blood oxygen. So it'll measure all these different things, and you wave it at yourself in these different ways depending on what you're measuring. It's $250. I'm looking at it, and the thing I ask myself is, what makes it different from, say, the sensors in my watch? I have a pulse oximeter and ECG in it, and I guess the big difference is it's probably they're better sensors because they're bigger, more accurate. And there's a few sensors that aren't in my watch, like my watch can't tell my temperature and that sort of thing. And the watch has to try to measure from your wrist, whereas this device has you move it to the place that it needs to measure, right? So to your chest or what have you. And then it, like you said, Father, it integrates with an app on your phone, and then we'll send it to your doctor, because your doctor has to interpret the data. That's really what's important here. So that this would probably be something you would get in conjunction with talking to your doctor about it. But we're getting further and further along to sort of this constant medical diagnostic life where our well-being, our physical well-being is constantly monitored. This be something you would think about?
Not for myself, I guess, at this point. I would see that this be helpful in a home health care situation.
Right.
But I'm perfectly happy with the level of stuff I've got, except that I would really like, and I know it can't right now, is I would like a much more mobile blood pressure method, in terms of your watch can't do that right now.
Right. That for me, that and the blood sugar.
The blood sugar, that would be that. Those are the things that I would be interested in, but it doesn't need to be an all-in-one.
Right.
But I do like the integration that with the doctor, being able to send it to the doctor. That's kind of nice.
I think the key there is just they have to make sure that it's private.
Right.
Yeah.
Key, definitely. And that the real-time information about your well-being and health is not detrimental. That's not going to your insurance company so that they can use it against you. That's always a big concern for this sort of stuff. We don't want our insurance companies penalizing us because we had, you had, some ice cream last night, and so we're going to up your premium or something crazy, or whatever it is.
Ice cream lovers are more at risk for all sorts of things.
No kidding.
Enjoying life is one of those.
Yeah. You are for higher risk of life enjoyment. We'll have to raise your premium. I think one of the links you put in, Pat, which is fascinating, was the CPR dummy of the future. We all remember, those of us who've taken CPR classes remember the inanimate little CPR Annie, I think it is, that they had us train on. But this is like a full-fledged robotic human with all the systems and fluids and musculature, and it's really a training dummy for medical professionals. But the video was fascinating.
Oh, I love that. I mean, it was like, it's almost like the old Operation game. How can you do something without hurting anybody, but learn something from it? And so I thought that was really cool for medical training purposes, not for home entertainment, obviously.
Right. Yeah. Please don't operate even on dummies for home entertainment, because that's just creepy. Go ahead.
I was just going to say that the more that they can get that, it sounds weird, but the more that they can get that to be lifelike, the better it will be for the medical training for medical professionals. Definitely.
I mean, because they said that you use real medical diagnostic tools and treatment tools on it. If it has a collapsed lung, you inject a real needle into the chest, and it lets the air out. It has a real air sac in there. If you have to do a tracheotomy, there's real blood that appears when you do. I won't go into any more detail for the squeamish who might be listening. So trigger warning, but it is fascinating.
Realistic. That's enough to say.
Yeah. And how did Data put it? It's fully functional. Like, it has all of the body parts. Like, it's a full body thing. So, they can treat everything. I want my paramedics, my doctors, nurses, I want them all to be really well trained when it comes time to treat me. So that is the better the training, the better the tools to train with, the better. And you can click the link to see if you are interested in finding out more about this thing. You're not going to buy one
to your local medical school.
Yeah, there's 70. I think the full set is $70,000. It includes interchangeable limbs with specific wounds and stuff. It's fascinating. Now, one that's really interesting that I feel like it could be handy for everybody, not just for those with hearing loss, but there's and I know, like, Apple's trying to do this with the AirPods, but there's a company called Orcam Hear, which they're special earbuds that you put in, and it interacts with an app on your phone, and it's got an AI model that learns particular voices of people talking to you within seconds, and then isolates them so you can hear just them in a crowded, noisy place. And in the article, they were talking about like testing it out and how amazingly it worked to just have how did you kind of move the circle of the person you're talking to into a special place in the app on the phone, and suddenly, bam, you're hearing them and no one else, even though everyone's talking. That's kind of amazing.
In the fact that it could identify different voices and still have, be able to isolate each one so that you could tell who was saying what.
Right. I think this would be great, not just for people who have hearing loss, but also people who have anxiety or other kind of issues, social anxiety. But because I have a couple of kids who have noise-related anxiety issues, where they're in crowded spaces or whatever, or they're trying to talk to someone and there's lots of noise around and they get overloaded. Right. Having the ability, and so they wear headphones with music playing to kind of tune things out, but having the ability to put in earbuds and have a conversation with somebody and tuning everything else out,
right,
I think would be great.
That would be really great.
Yeah. What do you think? I mean,
I'd buy one.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I mean, you know someone who has hearing loss, Pat. I mean, it's
oh yes,
in trouble.
I've
hearing.
got several people. Yeah.
So yeah, and they're gonna make it available on iOS and Android shipping later this year. They said. So we'll see how much that is and that sort of thing. But yeah, fascinating. I like that one.
Well, I'd like to see it paired with the one that does the transcribe too.
Yes,
because that's something that I've been actively researching is transcription apps. Okay. And I saw this thing on the noise isolation or the voice isolation. I thought, it would be great to marry those two things together too. Right.
So that what you're talking about is it's called Transcribe Glass, and it's a little thing that you mount on your eyeglasses or sunglasses, and it's got a little screen that appears in the corner of your eye, and it basically provides real-time closed captioning of conversations with people, which for the deaf or hard of hearing or other people who have hearing issues could be amazing, because real-time transcription of voices of live people is becoming better and better. Frankly, it's really amazing to see. I can imagine this being useful in things like going to the movies, although most movie theaters have assisted stuff now.
But the people that I know that are deaf don't really like those because they're not in front of their eyes. It's down a separate little tablet they got to look down. They're having to keep going up and down between the screen, and so they've got assistive devices. They're not very practical.
Gotcha. Okay.
For some people,
I've seen some where it mounts on the seat back in front of you or like somewhere. But you still have to change your focus between them. So yeah, that doesn't work great. So this would be great for something like that, going to the movies, going to a play in the theater, that sort of thing. That's really cool. So between the two of them, you could really tune out the world and focus on something, which would be
that would be nice. Well, and I understand that the Transcribe Glass would also do language translation as well.
Ooh. That's the universal translator for us, folks.
I know.
Getting close. Star Trek is becoming a reality. Let's talk about some of the food tech, because there's two of them that really kind of caught my eye. I'm a man in my 50s. That means I'm into smoked meats, and so it's required by law. So this one, GE has the new GE Profile Smart Indoor Smoker. And this is a smoker that goes into a kitchen, and like, why would I do this? Why wouldn't I just buy a pellet grill or whatever? And that's great if you have an outdoors, but if you live in the city, if you don't,
apartment building,
they're not going to let you put a Traeger out on your balcony. It's not the apartment building. If you even have a balcony, this is smokeless. It's like it will, contain the smoke, but it really, according to the way that they described it, it really will infuse smoke into the things you cook, but contain it in a smart way. It's got a computer in it. It knows how long to do things, and you program it to make things. So it takes some of the hands-on fun out of it, you know, that back to nature sort of man, fire, smoke, meat, you know, sort of thing. But I don't know. Would you buy one?
That was actually going to be a question that I had for you, and more so in regards to the other gadget that you have on this list. I think this grill thing or this smoker thing is brilliant. And for one, because it's smokeless. I mean, it's doesn't produce smoke.
It doesn't pollute the air.
Right.
Yeah. So you can use it, you know, in an apartment building in New York. But what I also like about it is that for the intimidated, the one who doesn't know what they're doing, the one who's unsure how to start, this is sort of would be a great way for them to get into smoking and then maybe branch out from there. But at least it gets them in the door, and it's going to be tasty. You know, they're going to have more success stories starting off than not, ideally.
I would say if I had $1,000 and not a lot of knowledge about smoking meats or foods in general, I still might go for you can get a pretty decent pellet grill for $1,000 if you've got the space for it. If you've got a backyard or patio or something like that, I think you're still gonna get it'll be a little more useful. For one thing, it'll be bigger. Like a $1,000 pellet grill will help you if you got to cook for a family. This is small enough. It's like it's probably got the footprint of a it looks like it has a footprint of a toaster oven, but taller.
Yeah.
Like you could probably fit a chicken in it or a rack of ribs maybe, but not a lot more than that. It doesn't look like you put a whole lot more, you know, in it than that. But yeah, I mean, if I were living in an apartment, I wanted to have $1,000 to spend on a smoker, I'd probably get it because, yeah, I mean, it does what it says on the label, so shall we say, and so if you're really craving it, that's the thing to get, I guess.
I think that the downfall, and that's what I was getting at with my earlier comment about, you know, and even your comment about, you know, it kind of gets you away from the rustic nature of doing it yourself, is you then aren't able to do all of those little things yourself, monitor every little aspect. And you know, my dad he turned a pull behind trailer into a smokehouse. Nice. So he controls everything, the temperature and the smoke, and, you know, and for someone like him, he would look at this and just scoff at it because, you know, he wants to have control of everything, but he's also in a different situation than someone who would be in the market for this. Right. Yeah. I got to meet your dad someday. It sounds like my kind of guy. Yeah. And then the other one you alluded to was the Perfecta grill. Now, this is an outdoor grill that they say can grill a ribeye steak in 90 seconds. And the tech in this is fascinating to me because it basically, if you think about it, most grills right now are pretty dumb tech. You've got fire, meat, and a surface, and you can control. If it's a gas grill, you can turn the heat up and down a little bit, but there's not a lot of fine-tuned control. But everything is really about, I got to deal with this radiant heat here. With this sear grill, it's called, they have infrared burners. They're gas powered because they get to up to 3,500 degrees. No, 1,600 degrees. 3,500 degrees, you'd be melting the steel. 1,600 degrees Fahrenheit, but they're vertical, and they move in and out away from the meat or whatever you're cooking. In real time as sensors detect what's going on with the food, and it's got an AI and all that sort of stuff. And that's how they can cook the food, like a steak, to perfection in 90 seconds. I think it's fascinating. I don't know that I want that. This one more so, I feel like I would personally scoff at it because I think there's something that's lost when you can just, like, even just the microwave, stick something in the microwave and nuke it, and you pull it out and okay, there's dinner. Because I think food, I mean, more than just nourishing our body, I think there's a I think it's fair to say that it can be a form of art too. I mean, you've got the smell, the sight, the beauty, and the fact that it tastes good. And someone who can grill a good ribeye on a grill, I would take every time over, throw it into this machine and have the perfect ribeye.
Yeah. My wife has
maybe
said
restaurants could use it, you know, but
I think in a restaurant context, this could make sense. My wife has said that one of the things that she married me was because I could cook. So, you know, that's so that don't discount that. But you're right. Like there is an art to it. I mean, the oven is kind of a dumb box if you think about it. An oven is just heat and you know, with elements, and it goes up and down. It's not exactly, you said it's at 350 and it will range between 340 and 360 as it turns the elements on and off, or the burners on and off and that sort of thing. And it's really kind of a dumb box, whereas this is really smart. It's got sensors. It knows what's in it. There are more and more of these, and I think it's going to come to our regular GE and whatever Gen Air ovens that we have in our homes. More of these smarts. This particular thing, I don't know that I would want to make a steak in 90 seconds by an AI, because there's something, like you said, there's something visceral for the cow and for me in cooking this myself over the fire. You know, I mean, in fact, if I make a steak, I want to do it over charcoal or wood. I even prefer that over gas. There's just something different about food cooked that way. Even
that reminds me of, like, you know, dad grilling on at home, and you're outside visiting and chit chatting, and there's a whole extended
culture
experience and culture there that is lost when you're just 90 seconds in a machine.
Here's your 90-second steak. Go back over there. Leave me alone with the machine. There is something lost in that. I like the idea. I like what that they're working on technology. And Pat, you're right. This in a restaurant, a 90-second perfectly cooked steak.
Home.
Right.
Something like that, where you've got a group home or something like that.
It's in an institutional environment where you got to cook a lot of food for a lot of people very quickly. Catering a wedding, 90-second steaks, boom, 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 like that. Yeah. Sure. Yeah. Those would be better steaks than the way they do it now, which is partially pre-cook them and then heat them up right before they send it out. So I agree with that. Now, we did have a whole list of things that were like weird things that were seen at CES, but I'm going to leave that for now. I'll put the link in the show notes so you can go look at those at your leisure, because I do want to make sure we get to some of our other headlines. But before we do, there was one thing that was not at CES that I want to bring up, because you are my VR people here. And so this is clearly a topic that I want to address with you. Is Apple announced that the Vision Pro is going to go on sale, pre-sale this very week as the show releases on Friday, and then be available on February 2nd. It'll be $3,500 for the basic device. If you need prescription lenses, I think it's like $100, like no more than $100. It's pretty inexpensive when you consider Apple, and they're throwing in a polishing cloth, which, you know, that's like $50 right there. So
act now before they're all gone.
But Apple usually will drop something during, you know, at the beginning of CES to steal everyone's thunder without showing up in Las Vegas. But what do y'all think of the Vision Pro going on sale? Is this something? I'm gonna go on a limb and say this isn't something either of you would buy now. If, you know, when they come out with the one that is half the price and twice the function, does it become more attractive to you? What do you think?
It'd have to be. It'll have to for me. It'll have to compete with the price of the Meta Quests. So I mean, if it can't, and because those. Pat graciously gave me her MetaQuest 2, which still does way more than I could ever imagine. Mm-hmm. And the price of that is still it's darn right cheap compared to the Apple Vision Pro. Yeah. And
MetaQuest 3 is what nowadays, like 800 or 900?
$799. So, okay. $699, $799. I don't remember.
So the Quest 2 is
how much
cheaper
memory
than,
you get. Yeah.
But still, like, so it's going to have to do everything that the Quest does, including all my games that I've already bought for the Quest.
Right.
And it's going to have to be
the library's got to be there.
Yeah.
Yep, and it's got to be that cheap. Otherwise, I mean, if I'm just going to use the Vision Pro to look at my photos that are synced because it's Apple, which is great, or my movies, no, I've got screens for that.
It's got to do more than the MetaQuest does. Let me put it that way. I think for me, like the MetaQuest is, I mean, give Facebook credit. They've really improved it. It's really, I mean, in fact, I just started using the MetaQuest 2 again. And even from the last time I've used it, it's improved. Just in the software.
The graphics and the graphics have been added to, and Yep.
So, for $650 for the top end MetaQuest 3, that's a pretty darn compelling, competition. So the Vision Pro has to, and don't get me wrong, what Apple showed to the Vision Pro, like using it for putting, when I talk about the screen real estate, virtually infinite screen real estate, that sort of thing. But I think right now, it's like the Apple Watch. No one really knows what it's going to be good for.
I think that's the problem. It's right now. There's not that. Oh, the Apple Vision Pro does this better than everybody else.
Yeah.
And like, if you're just talking about screen real estate, now that's great, but you're still only looking really at one window at a time. And I can have a two monitor setup of my computer. And even that, I can't look at every monitor all at the same time and work,
right.
on everything all at once. I mean, it's good in theory, but it's the Vision Pro, isn't doing anything better so far that I've seen than what the Quest can do.
Well, now one of the things is with people who use it for work, who do multiple screens.
Yep.
Somebody can walk in with a headset to a desk that's empty, put on their headset, and they have 5 monitors around them that are huge. And they can have an environment where they're sitting on the top of a mountain doing this thing.
Yeah.
I can see that. And my son, Steven, knows people who do this.
Yeah. With
because they
other
can,
devices. Yeah.
Right. Just with a MetaQuest or with the Rift.
Do they not get tired of the Quest on their head? I mean, it's not that heavy, but it would, if I was using it for work, I think it would start to bug me.
Well, I've with like the different headsets can balance that so you don't really feel the weight that much. With the Bobo with the battery in the back, it counterweights so it almost feels like it's floating, and I don't notice it. What I still have a problem if I've been in it too long, I start getting a little bit of a headache and a little bit of an upset stomach, no matter what I'm doing. And it's just, I think that's just too much screen around me all the time. But as I say, Stephen knows people who go in there 8 hours a day and use it. And it's like they can be in any coffee shop or any environment in the world and have multiple screens. And at the end of the day, they just take off the headset. They don't have to worry about where they were, that they had all these screens set up. They don't have to.
Right. Like you talking
so
about
it's a portable office.
Yeah, Father, you were talking about the laptop on the plane problem. You put one of these on while you're on an airplane and tune out the plane, and you can have a huge screen in front of you. You're tapping on your virtual keyboard in front of you on the tray table.
Until the stewardess tries to pass the Coke to the person sitting next to you, and you
you buy a window seat.
Or you reach for your mouse and you grab the neighbor's knee or something. Yeah, that would be.
Well, they suggest using it for more passive things when you're on a plane. The other
Watching
thing
a movie,
is that your boundaries start having problems in terms of where it's tracking. So you have to turn off the tracking so that you don't, because it's moving. The plane is.
I saw someone on Facebook talking about they tried to use a Meta Quest on an airplane, and it was like their controls kept flying away like that very high speed.
Yeah, you have to turn off the tracking on it and do manual control. But I've had people that do that. But
okay, so that's what's the trending. Those are the big trends I think in 2024 that we'll see is like the AI powered things, the transparent new TV tech, health tech certainly, and some of this food tech, and so that's very interesting.
There's a lot of automotive tech too about the cars that could change colors and things like that. Yeah,
there's always cool car stuff, but maybe we should do a show just on the auto tech. Maybe grab Victor for that one and see what we want to do, because that's a whole show's worth right there.
Right. Yeah.
All right, so before we move on to our headlines, we get some good ones tonight. I want to take a moment to thank our patrons who make it possible for us to create the secrets of technology, including Matthew B., Joshua N., Paula W., Jim B., and Andy F. Their generous donations at sqpn.com/give make it possible for us to continue the secrets of technology and all the shows at StarQuest. And you can join them by visiting sqpn.com/give. So our first headline, I really like this one. I was really excited when I saw this one. Like, this is really cool. So it's from the Guardian, which is a British newspaper, but it's about this initiative going on in New Orleans. The headline, "We needed to get off the grid, New Orleans community-driven response to blackouts." And New Orleans is all constantly getting hit by hurricanes and floods and losing power. And it's a problem, especially where it gets very hot, and humid in New Orleans. And there's a lot of elderly folks and poor people who suffer the most in these sorts of situations. So there's this new thing, the Community Lighthouse Network. And what it is it's a network of community organizations, including churches and synagogues and mosques, but also health clinics and soup kitchens, or community pantries, I think is what they're called now, that they set themselves up with extensive solar panels and battery backup systems so that when power goes out, they stay online and become a hub for people to come to cool off, recharge their devices, charge their medical devices, have a refrigeration to put their perishable medicines in, and to just gather and be with other people in this sort of situation. And the churches and the other organizations that do this, the way that they pay for these systems is they pay back. They were saying this one church, even after they are paying off, even after when you account for the mortgage on the panels and the batteries and all that sort of stuff, they're still paying 20 to 30% less for electricity because they're selling it back to the net, to the grid, and making money from selling the electricity to the grid and countering their expenses. What do y'all think of this? Of this idea of churches being part of this network? I love it. What do you think?
I think it's great. I think that, I mean, when it comes to ministry, I mean, we're not all about, I mean, we're holistic.
Yes.
We'll put it that way. You know, the Catholic Church isn't just about the spiritual health of everybody. I mean, we're about physical health as well, and mental health, emotional health. I mean, we want to help people flourish in their humanity to the fullest extent possible. So to be a part of something like this, to help people in these emergency situations, to just find shelter or get out of the heat or warm up, or even, you know, I think it's great. I also really like that they call them community lighthouses. I think that that's I've always been a fan of lighthouses, but I mean, just that idea that this is a safe harbor.
It's a beacon.
And a beacon, to the safe harbor is
bringing
just,
light.
it's got that Christ symbolism in there, and so I think that's a beautiful thing, and I think more cities should be doing this for sure.
How about you, Pat?
That's
what
cool.
do you think?
Oh, I think it's great. I'm so glad you brought this to our attention.
Yeah, I love the idea that that these houses of faith become these beacons of safety in a time of trouble, and because they always have been, but also it takes care of people, their spiritual and physical health. And like you said, Father, and I agree, that is great. I want to see this in more places. I think it's fantastic. I mean, already there are lots of churches that become shelters for people in storms and that sort of thing. But this is
warming centers and things like that. Yeah.
But this is a more intentional use, an intentional network of things, setting them up with this newer technology to provide for this, because, being able to provide electrical power is a big part of it, in addition to heating or cooling, depending on the weather. So I really love that.
Well, and I think that there's something to be said too. I mean, as well as food and shelter and warmth and whatnot, one of the essential things that we need in our, especially I guess today's culture in these crisis situations, is the ability to reach out to family members who are outside of the crisis. So to charge your cell phones, to be able to, let everybody know you're okay is part of that just emotional and well-being of the person and the family and the communities.
Right. And gathering with your neighbors too. Like instead of being isolated at home in the dark, you're together with other people, your neighbors, in a place of light and warmth or cool, depending on what you need. Our next headline is from The Atlantic, and it says, "Welcome to CAPTCHA Hell."
From heaven to hell.
That's right. If you've ever had to, fill out a block of images and try to find click on all of the sidewalks. Well, does that little bitty corner that's in that one, does that count as part of the sidewalk? It's like, oh, I hate those things. And if you're on your phone versus an iPad or, it's just horrible. Yes. And so this article explains why these CAPTCHAs are getting more difficult than they have been, partly because scammers are using bots to get past the easier ones. And so they have to balance, the three, usability, security, and I forget what the third thing was, but there's three things they have to balance. And our usability, it becomes second to the security aspect. They're trying to prevent these, bot-enabled scammers to getting into things. What do y'all think? I mean, do you guys have the same issues with CAPTCHAs that I do?
Yeah, I think we need a new system, and I'm not the one to brainstorm and come up with a new idea, but AI is getting smarter and smarter and smarter, so these CAPTCHAs are naturally going to get more and more complex. I've done some of them where it's a math problem or like a puzzle that you have to solve. Yeah. And I mean, before too much longer,
discrimination.
What about the mathematically challenged?
Yeah. Right. Well, and before too much longer, you're going to have to need to know calculus just to get beyond one of these things. So,
well, and you've got the verbal versus nonverbal people. I mean, the people that are literate versus, and so you've got a lot of barriers there that you're tromping on.
And I don't know, maybe if there was a way, I don't know, I'm not the one to think of this, but I'm thinking, we use our biometrics to prove you're a human or something. Yep. I use my fingerprint all the time to log into my computer, or yep. I don't know. There's got to be a better way than a CAPTCHA.
One of the things they talk about in the article that Google is doing more is even before you get to the CAPTCHA, they're monitoring your behavior on the website. So when you get to the website, humans typically do these things. They log in, they look at things that they might want to purchase or whatever, and then they take these steps over this period of time, typically. But if, you immediately go to this page and try to break in using 1,000 different iterations within 10 seconds, then you're probably a bot. And so that is really, a lot of times, if you go to a site and do a bunch of things and then you come to a CAPTCHA page and you click the little checkbox and it lets you go right on in without showing the puzzle.
I've seen that and I didn't know that.
Yeah. Whereas if you go directly to that page, perhaps you get shown the CAPTCHA. So they're trying to do more of this, but yeah, it's a difficult problem because on the one hand, we want AI to get as human-like as possible. Some people do, as human-like as possible. On the other hand, we have that problem is if they're too human, they, welcome to our new robot overlords. Yes, Skynet. So, but I whatever the case is, I hate these CAPTCHAs, the ones that make me try to decipher, what is it? Is that a bicycle in that blurry picture? I can't tell. And then the worst is you click them all, and then you failed and it shows you another set. It's like, I gotta start all over again. So
and some of these could be cultural problems, like it'll show you a picture of something and say which way is right side up.
Oh yeah.
And so depending upon what your background is, you might not know what that object was supposed to look like originally.
That's true. That's a good point. Yes. All right, then our third headline is from the Register. Hewlett-Packard exec says quiet part out loud when it comes to locking in print customers. So if you own an HP printer, you probably have encountered their ink subscription service called Instant Ink. I have a printer where I've had the Instant Ink service for actually a while now. And if you're anything like me, I got 5 kids and they print things. But most people I know do not print very much anymore at home. I occasionally I have a laser printer that I use for work. I have sometimes more intensive print jobs, but for the inkjet printer, we don't use it a lot. But they were charging me $4.99 a month for this instant ink service, and for that I got like a couple hundred pages, something like that. But I didn't print 100 pages a month. I'd print 10 and they would roll it over for me. But those rollovers would only last so long. And then they just recently sent a price increase. And so then I just canceled the darn thing outright. And now I'm going to buy ink. Well, I found out in the fine print, I actually could just go back to buying ink cartridges as I need them because they don't want you to know that. Because, back to the article, the chief financial officer at HP was talking at a conference and basically said, we see that when you move a customer from that pure transactional model, buying things as you need them, whether it's instant ink plus adding on paper, they have a paper subscription service now, we sort of see a 20% uplift on the value of that customer. Value, that's corporate speak.
How much
gouging you more.
Yeah, because you're locking that person, committing to a longer term relationship. So none of this is for your benefit, no matter what the marketing says. They're doing these subscription things because they get more money out of you. And that's for money that you don't need to spend because you don't need that service.
One of the biggest ways we waste money is if you don't see it happen. So, subscriptions are out of sight, out of mind, and it just kind of happens in the background and you don't even think about it, even if it's just $5 a month. But that's, if you're only
60, yeah.
But yeah, it adds up if you're not using it to the extent that it's worth. And then, the company's just raking in all the benefits of that.
Right.
Well, and they've also had a problem with they're locking you in so badly that if you use a competitor's ink, then all of a sudden it won't print anymore.
Yeah.
Or if you stop your instant ink, there are printers that you have bought that they lowered the cost on the printer in order for you to use the instant ink service. That was part of the requirement. And therefore, when you stop using instant ink, the printer doesn't work anymore at all.
Right. Right. That's yeah. So some printers you can just cancel the subscription. With others, if you cancel the subscription, the printer you bought, and this is their own fault because they were lowballing the printer hardware. They're selling it at a loss so they could sell you the ink later, which is a classic sales tactic. And printer ink, inkjet printer ink, is the most expensive substance on the planet, ounce for ounce. It is literally. I'm not even joking. That is literally true. It is the most expensive thing in the world. But they did this to us by artificially lowering the prices of the printers to get us in the door. To get us hooked on it, basically. The problem is they're all doing it. So, who can you turn to? The best thing is if you can stop printing altogether and maybe go with like laser printers are a little better. They're a little less gougy than inkjet printers, I find.
Well, the tank printers are equivalent to the lasers in terms of cost per page too.
When
you have the tank, the big bottles of ink that you're just refilling,
right?
The tank printers.
Yes. I had one of those for a while too. I ended up giving that one away just because. Again, I didn't use I got the instant ink subscription printer for free because it was a review model.
Right.
And I ended up giving the other one away. But I just.
Well, and the tank printers, evidently, the lasers use more electricity, use more power than the tank printers do too. So that's another reason.
There's that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But basically, I said to my wife Melanie, I said, if we need to print anything, we'll print it on the laser printer, and we're just going to get rid of the other one. And because we just, like I said, we just don't print that much stuff anymore, which is probably better in the long run anyway.
Right. Well, I've been trying to show people that instead of printing, they can put it on to a PDF and save those things. And then selectively, if they need to print when they can.
Right.
But they've got the PDFs of them all.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. All right. Those are our headlines. And I think it's time to move on to our picks of the week. And Father Andrew, what is your pick this week?
My pick this week is an app for your phone called Flighty. It's been really handy. I have it on my phone. It tracks flights across the all the various different airlines and everything, and you can add them to your phone. You can see the route that the plane is actually taking. You can see where the plane is coming from. You can see if there's delays. There's all sorts of good information for those, either if you're flying yourself or if you're tracking family members who are flying for holidays and whatnot. And there's a free version, which kind of does all the basic stuff and you have to be in the app, or there's a pro version, which I have not done, but it sounds intriguing because it'll do things like it'll push updates to your phone. If there's delays, it'll, sync with your calendar. If you're traveling a lot, you can have all your flights synced up there, and it'll do a lot more with the pro version, but the free version does everything you could ever want it to for your average kind of consumer. So it's, right. Was something that I was using as I was flying to and from various places over Christmas break. So
nice.
I'd recommend that. Oh, and the other thing that I liked about it, and it's for the pro version, and I've only experienced it once because your first flight is on pro is free. And then you got to pay for it, but it does work with Apple's Dynamic Island.
Oh yes.
So and the live notifications and stuff. So that was pretty cool too.
One of the things I've heard about Flighty is that it can predict delays before they happen using they're using an AI model, and you're looking they historical data and all that sort of stuff, and they can predict delays, but they said up to 25 hours prior to departure, which is fascinating. And also I've heard from people say that they will get gate change updates before the airline does, like before that shows up on the gate at the airline, that they're sitting at. The Flighty will tell them the gate is changed to this other gate, and it still says their flight on here, but they'll go to the other gate and then it will change. So
that's fascinating.
Wow.
Yeah, Flighties get access to data like you wouldn't believe. So that's a good pick. If you travel, that's the one. That's what I've heard.
In conjunction with the airline app itself, which is what I use for boarding pass and all the
the boarding pass. Yeah. All right, Pat, what is your pick this week?
Well, we talked about medical stuff at CES, and I happen to be already researching some things for hearing impaired people, and so this last month, I've been playing with Apple's live captions, where you can basically have it open and have it transcribe for you the conversation that's going on in front of you. I did try using it in church to see if it would pick up the sermon, and it doesn't. It must be something to do with how close the voice is to you, because it didn't pick up anything from the PA system, no matter which person was talking. So I've also then looked at some other transcription apps trying to bridge that gap. And the one I've liked so far best, it was called Live Transcribe. And if you had somebody who was talking pretty distinctly, like we have one deacon that almost everything he said came through. And I tried a couple of other apps, and like maybe one word out of 100 would come through, and you get something like instead of apparitions, you get operations, or sometimes it would just out of 2 minutes, it might show you 4 words. So the live transcribe seemed to give me the best thing if you had somebody speaking pretty distinctly.
Okay.
So
but the live transcribe has a subscription model for.
Yeah, it's $50 a year.
Okay.
You get to try it out for so many transcriptions or so much time. I don't remember exactly what the limit was. So I decided to opt for it because it was at least giving me something off of the PA system that I could look at and get 90% of it.
That's great. Yeah. For people who have a hard time hearing, like sometimes the PA systems, even for people who don't have hearing impairment, they can hear fine. But I know that those can sometimes really be hard for people who do have any type of hearing issues. And that's great that there's something that can help with that. Fantastic.
Well, we have a friend that at the last couple of meal gatherings she's on an Android, and Google's transcribe works really, really well for her. And so basically she can just hold out the phone and see what people are close to her are saying. Now, sometimes it'll pick up people a little bit further down the way. But so that's kind of what I was looking for, was an equivalent of the Google transcribe, but Google doesn't make it for iOS.
Right.
So I was having to find other alternatives.
Okay. Very good. So my pick this week is a nice little package that you might want to get for a young man or young woman in your life who is interested in computers, electronics, or that sort of hands-on sort of thing. It's called the 30-Day Coding and Circuits Challenge, or the Adventure Kit. It's from inventor.io. And how much is it? I forget exactly. They keep putting it on sale. It's always on sale. But right now it's $72, but I've seen it for even less than that. So, keep an eye on it. But what it is it's a little kit full of all kinds of little electronic gadgets and doodads, including an Arduino microprocessor board and a breadboard and other things like that. And it comes with software and ebooks to use with your computer. And it's a game that helps them learn. And what it is it sets up a scenario where, you were on your spaceship and seem to have crashed on this alien planet. You have to repair your ship in order to, save yourself in the next 30 days. And so over the course of 30 days, it gives them lessons, quote unquote, jobs of repairing your various ship systems using the various electronic components that it gave you and the software that comes with it. And it provides this education in electronics, basic electronics, in the context of this fun game. And this is great for, from upper elementary kids who are probably maybe a little gifted all the way up through high school, so we could work with them. So definitely check it out if you've got someone in your life who might be interested in this sort of thing. I got one for my son, and he's off and on with it. He has attention issues. So
30 days is a long time to plan for.
Yeah. But he enjoys it when he remembers to get back into it, and he loves fiddling with things and building things and having electronic gadget games and that sort of thing. So it's something to check out. So I recommend it. All right. So those are our picks of the week, and that is our show this time. We'd love to hear from you, what you thought of anything we talked about today, and or what you think the hot new trends in tech will be in 2024. And you can do that by commenting on the show at sqpn.com/technology, or the StarQuest Facebook page, facebook.com/StarQuestMedia. Send an email to technology@sqpn.com. or visit the StarQuest Discord community at sqpn.com/Discord. You can find links from our discussion and our picks of the week on our show notes at starquest.fm/TEC241. That's starquest.fm/Tech41. Be sure to write a review in Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcast from if they allow reviews or ratings, and share the podcast with your friends to help us grow this community. Until next time, Father Andrew Kinstetter, thank you for joining me and sharing the secrets of technology.
Absolutely.
Pat Scott, thank you as well.
It's been fun.
And once again, I'm Dom Bettinelli. Thank you for listening to the Secrets of Technology on StarQuest.